Yes, like they say, nutrition is the science of food. It is about eating a healthy and balanced diet involving food and drink consumed to provide the energy and nutrients needed to stay healthy and perform optimally.
Yeah, so if you just tuned in, we welcome you to what promises to be a really good conversation on your health and wellness from the food and nutrition perspective. First, our chit-chat, John, on events that made news in the past few days.
Yes, few days. And really what jumps to my mind is the passing of the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II. A lot of our relationship or a lot of our growth in Nigeria can always be traced to what the British and their monarch set up for us. So, yeah, we want to send our condolences from this part of the world. I know that a few people are already saying, why?
As is usual. No, there's so much.
But I mean, yes, we cannot write the history of Nigeria without mentioning the British. So,
True.
Our condolences to the royal family and the people, the good people of England.
And congratulations to the new king of England.
Prince Charles III.
Yeah. Because I hear that as soon as she stepped out, he stepped in.
Of course.
Without a lot of ceremonies.
Seamless.
And that gives Camilla another.
Yeah, she had it coming. It was already written in the books. So she really had to assume that position.
Yeah.
So what's been happening around?
A few weeks ago you were all about, our miracle girl, the Toby Amusan. Again, she did another one.
Oh yeah.
She breaks a 22-year-old record to defend Diamond League title.
That's great.
And so she's in the news again, that's good for Nigeria.
Yeah, let's
at a time like this.
Let's keep it up. We need all of that. We need good news.
All right, there's a bad news from Ilori, because some weeks ago something trended a lot in the social media. A young man who was accosted by the police, and they insisted that he should show them his phone, and he said no. The IG now said you can't do that, but that's played back again in the University of Ilorin environment last week when a Liberian student of the University of Ilorin was again brutalized by policemen, for the same reason, searching of phones and not finding anything incriminating on him and brutalized. And we hear that at the moment the guy is critically ill in hospital.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is about.
Helen, my reaction to this? I think it's high time we tore down the entire force and reorganized it. We need to reorganize it. We really need to reorganize. So, enough of that good news, bad news.
But the very last good news is that we have rescued 3 more girls from the forests of Sambisa.
Brilliant.
The Chibok Girls, 3 of them were rescued within the week.
Brilliant.
And that's excellent news. And what is not so excellent in that news, as far as I'm concerned, is that they all came out, 3 of them, with children.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, they went there as babies, and they came out as mothers.
Okay. So, Helen, let's move on. Let's move on now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so much about us as a people and what we permit in this part of the world. Really what we permit, Now to the matter at hand, nutrition and genetics. What's on your mind when you eat? Quantity or quality? Value to your health or just routine? Dr. Patrick Ijewere is back to shake some more tables today.
And it's time to welcome the team player who is set to transform healthcare in Africa with particular attention to prevention and reversal of chronic and degenerative diseases. Last week, he took us back to the Garden of Eden. Please join us to welcome the founder. Help us welcome Dr. Patrick Ijewere, Chief Executive Officer and founder of the Nutrition Hospital and Wellness Center in Ikoyi here, Lagos. Thank you again for joining us, Doctor.
Good morning.
Whenever I see you, my mind is, I know that I'm on the path of what's good.
You are going to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, I tried some of those things last week. Welcome back, Doctor. Last week was exceptional for me particularly, because you helped me to be intentional you know, as it regards what I put on my table and what I swallowed in. So thanks for making our time again to add more value to our lives today. I see John is itching.
Yes, I am.
To go.
Yes, I am. Doctor has been quite an influence, like you said. In the last 1 week.
You've been eating bananas?
Yes. Yesterday,
Each time I called him, you say, I'm eating bananas.
Yesterday I was loading myself with bananas. Because, I mean, like you said, someone told me that, you know, the pain in my knee, you know, could be helped with more potassium in my system. So I've been quaffing bananas. I hope it doesn't change my genetics.
If it does in a good way.
So, doctor, let's go straight into it. Now we have genes, we have genetics, we have genealogy. What's the relationship with our topic, which is nutrition?
Genes, genetics, genealogy. All right, let's start with the third big word, genealogy.
Okay.
Most of us see it from a circular perspective, which is it's tied down to our lineage.
Yeah.
You know, our brothers in the diaspora, our siblings in the diaspora, do a lot of finding of where does their genetic root begin. And there are organizations that look at going to deep analysis of your gene sequence. They can trace a genealogy right down to the Fulani ethnic group, the Yoruba ethnic group, the Ashanti ethnic group, to Europe. So that's genealogy. Where you are today, how can we track it back to your ancestors, to source? Genetics, we tie that to the manifestation of what our genes are or how they're organized.
Okay.
What genes?
How are you wired?
How are you wired? And how does it play out? How does it manifest? Once you have the genetics for asthma, you have the genetics for high blood pressure.
Okay.
Your family, genetics in your family, cancer, breast cancer runs in the family.
Yes.
Now, what are the genes? They are a sequence of, let me use the word, amino acids or basic nutrients in a particular arrangement. We have all these A, C, T, G sequences at the DNA level, or what we call the double helix DNA.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid a lot of technical medical terms.
Yeah, please do.
It's okay, I understand. I'm not sure about
Please do. No, our viewers need to understand.
When those sequences
are
replicated, reproduced in a particular order, you can trigger a gene. For example, you have BRCA1, which is a breast cancer gene. You have HO1, which is a gene that's involved in sickle cell disease. But they're all built on that DNA sequence.
Wow. Okay. Okay, that's for the medical practitioners, because when you go to the hospital and they do whatever test they need to do and they find the G, whatever,
they
they know.
Disease. They don't bother with the DNA sequence. They find the disease.
They find the disease. That's the one that concerns us. Okay, so our genes are said to have a direct relationship, you know, with our DNA, right? So is it then right to assume that our DNA does not and cannot be altered, no matter what we do with our nutrition and the regime of what we eat?
Okay. Let me break it into two questions. Can DNA be altered?
Altered.
The science of today is doing it.
Is doing it?
It's doing it.
Okay.
There's, again, technical terms where you can actually go in and change the gene, the sequence in the DNA.
Why would you want to do that?
No, how? How would you do that?
And how?
Okay, let's give one example. You've heard of GMO, genetically modified organisms. And so I take a gene or a gene sequence from, let's say, the lizard, because that sequence gives it a beautiful hue. And then I'll put it into the tomatoes.
Okay.
So the tomato has that hue that is beautiful. You take a gene sequence from a rabbit, because it runs very fast, and you put it into something else. So science today is altering DNA sequence. DNA sequencing is nothing, I mean, it's routine.
So we're having crosses
in a very concerning, ethically concerning way.
Yeah,
I like that, because that's the why that I ask, you know, but you don't need to go into the details. Now, for the second part of the question.
Okay, on nutrition,
Yes.
it's a two-way street. The DNA sequence, all those amino acids, are tied to what we eat. We build the DNA sequence based on what we put in. A child is born. Well, a child is conceived in the womb. He gets some chromosomes from the parent, daddy, and mommy. From that, he's going to have DNA in 100 trillion cells.
Okay.
What's going to go from that? One sequence from daddy, one sequence from mommy, and create sequences in 100 trillion cells. It's nutrition. The building blocks of the additional sequences will come from what he puts in. And if he puts in high quality nutrients, by God's grace,
What he gets.
He'll multiply into 100 trillion cells, each of them having DNA sequences that are identical or very beneficial. Now, if unfortunately things happen during the fetal period, the embryologic period in the mother's womb, whether it's alcohol, whether it's smoking, whether it's drugs, or whether it's poor quality food that is full of chemicals, that multiplication that occurs in the womb can be affected down to the genetic level.
Wow.
I mean, today we have awesome doctors in the West, many of them Nigerian doctors, who are going into the womb to alter genetics to improve the outcome when they find certain things in the amniotic fluid.
No way.
This actually changes the impression that we've always had about our DNA and how much it is our ID, you know, because it's like, you know, they get to your DNA to get to your
Who
source.
you are.
So if you say that it can be altered, then it means that
That's why I say in a very concerned
it is very
and
concerning,
ethical
very
way.
very disturbing.
Yes.
Very disturbing.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, okay, let's try and bring it a little down to the breakfast table. You know, ours is a family show. We don't want to be talking about I'm not saying they don't know, but we don't want to, you know, let's bring it down. Let's talk about vitamins a little bit, you know. Obviously, vitamins play a major role in our nutrition, right? How so?
In several ways. Vitamins, vital amines. There are certain nutrients that are very vital to the body.
I've never looked at it in that way. Vital
Amines.
amines. Yeah.
Ah.
Wow.
We have the vitamin A's all the way to the vitamin K's.
Yeah.
Some of them we can make within, like vitamin K2. Some of them we have to bring from the outside. Every day, like B vitamins, B1, B2, B3, B5, B7, we need to bring them from the outside. Some we can take in and store over time, i.e. B12.
Okay.
Vitamin A, because they are fat soluble, vitamin D. Some of them we get from sun exposure. Vitamin D is key. So there are several ways in which we get them in, and they play a massive role throughout the entire body. Let's just take one example. In the last 2 years, we learned about the impact of vitamin D on immunity during the COVID saga. The data from the West, where data was compiled massively, showed that folks who either had severe COVID or succumbed to COVID was so clear that they had very low levels of vitamin D. Vitamin plays a role in your immune system, in your gut system, your kidneys, your bones, even in your long-term cognitive system.
Yeah.
The biggest one was the immune system.
Yeah.
So vitamins are vital.
Okay.
So you really must, I'm sorry, Helen, you must know your numbers at any point in time, you know, to know
Yes.
what you're missing out on or what you're having
and
too much of.
very true.
Yeah.
A lot of our vitamins are available in our food, in our nutrition. That's the ideal source and the primary source to get them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some of our practices today, the agricultural practices, what we do in the field with cultivation, is causing the foods of today to be less in
So
terms of these
depleting it, yeah?
nutrients.
Okay.
Today, our work pattern, where we're now indoor creatures instead of outdoor, diminishes our vitamin D production.
Okay.
I can ask a client, when last did you eat an orange? And they're scratching their head.
Just orange.
Orange.
Ask me.
True. Okay,
When last did you eat a carrot?
A carrot. And you know, I love carrots, but I haven't been intentional about having carrots.
See yourself.
I love carrots, actually.
See yourself.
Boiled carrots. You know. Yeah.
Okay, so would you say that that's why we have loads of vitamins? you know,
Supplements on the
in
market.
yeah, supplements. And it's been recommended to almost everybody at different ages for different ailments and what.
It's partly why, I mean, we have a entrepreneurial market system that sees where there's need and fills it. Again, one has to be very discerning. There are different kinds of vitamins or supplements on the marketplace. Again, we start with what's on the table. That's where you should get the bulk of it, from the natural environment. The next place you should get it are from supplements that are based on plants, based on nature.
Okay.
Then you have the third category, which is the synthetic man-made supplements.
Okay.
And that's where we run into a lot of problems.
Okay. So let's go back
to
genetics, right? Because the picture you've painted is such that I may have cancer genes or whatever genes, diabetic genes or what, you know. I say that genetic disorders can be treated with, you know, can be treated or altered with
through nutrition, yeah.
Okay. You've asked two questions, but I'm going to break it down to three perspectives. First one. Yes, we all have genes, but your genes by itself do not determine how you're manifesting, how your body is manifesting, or what disease shows up. There's a field in the last 25 to 30 years called epigenetics. What is above, above the genes. You may have the genes for diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, you name it. And you can live to age 110 without any of the ailments.
Great.
God in his wisdom knew his children would be a bit errant. And so he has allowed us to have control over what genes are expressed. Your spirituality affects what genes are expressed. Your mindset, how you program your mind, affects what genes are expressed. Your nutrition is huge as to what genes are expressed. Your lifestyle, if you don't sleeping, not enough sleep, not enough exercise, and your environment all influence gene expression, your epigenetics. And this is how twins, same identical twins, one grows up in Okinawa, Japan, the other in LA, California. The one here, no disease. The one there picks up high blood pressure, diabetes, and cancer. The environment, the nutrition is different. That's what decides what genes are expressed or not expressed.
Wow.
So it's a yes.
It's an absolute yes. And the power of it is when you understand that, you can make changes to suppress the disease genes. And there are foods that God has given us abundantly that can alter this. And that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Yes.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to say yes to a break. We'll take a short break now. And yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay. Once again, thank you for being on the show. It's Today with John and Helen, coming your way live from the studios of PlusTvAfrica here in Lagos, Nigeria. And we have been looking since last week at nutrition and the role it plays in ensuring that you have good health or you do not have good health. All right, so right about now, we want to zero in on cancers. And Dr. Patrick Ijewere is still here with us. Once again, thank you, sir. All right, so let's take a look at cancers and other genetic-related ailments. What role would nutrition play in either preventing or reversing it?
I beg your permission just to read a brief excerpt here from a study that was published about 10 years ago.
Okay.
The study is on PubMed.gov. It's talked on oxidative stress in health and disease, the potential of NRF2 activation. Let me go down to the key point. NRF2 is referred to as the master regulator of the antioxidant response, modulating the expression of hundreds of genes, including not only the familiar antioxidant enzymes, but large number of genes that control seemingly disparate processes such as immune and inflammatory response, tissue remodeling and fibrosis, carcinogenesis, what's that? Cancer. And metastasis.
Okay.
And even cognitive function and addictive behavior.
Okay, can you say that in English?
Can you, yeah?
We have pathways in the body. This particular one has been shown to cause or affect how genes are expressed, how genes manifest physically. And if you can modulate this particular enzyme or particular pathway, you can upregulate or downregulate gene expression for ailments ranging from Alzheimer's, which is cognitive memory problems, cancer, carcinogenesis, starting of cancer, metastasis, which is spread of cancer.
Okay.
It talked about immune and inflammatory response. What is inflammation? Anything that ends with the word itis, arthritis, bursitis, pneumonitis, that's inflammation, bronchitis. So there are pathways in the body already that can trigger how genes are expressed. Now, let me take it a step further. There's the foods which are in our environment that can trigger this NRF2 pathway. And based on the genetic analysis from some of these studies, let me not mention certain foods.
No, please do.
Okay, I'll mention just one. There's a whole host of them we have. One of them is turmeric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can literally downregulate the gene that causes breast cancer.
Okay.
The gene that is a factor in sickle cell disease, colon cancer.
Proven.
I will quote you the studies right here. The chart is here.
Okay. To reverse it.
When you downregulate the gene expression, you give the body a fighting chance to undo some of what the disease has done already.
Okay.
I gave you my story of my asthma. And I made certain changes. I downregulated those genes or those gene expressions.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, doctor. You attended St. Gregory's College, yeah?
Yes, he did.
Send up, Greg's.
Well, I am proudly from St. Finbar's College. And for those who followed soccer in those days, from the Senaya family that played soccer, schoolboy soccer. Now,
hey, this is unfair. I'm left out.
Hang on now,
Oh, boy.
Helen. We did so well in football that sometimes I begin to look at my mother. Is there something she fed us as a family that made us, so good in playing soccer? Is there any way that what we're talking about is, relevant to genetics, nutrition, and all of that?
Athletics.
Okay. Athletes are heavily influenced by what they consume.
Athletes.
Heavily influenced. Athletes, for example, who put in things that are negative to gene expression, a lot of alcohol, tobacco, we see they're affected. For example, how well can you carry oxygen if your hemoglobin is fighting for space to carry oxygen rather than carbon monoxide from your cigarettes?
Yeah.
Sugar affects how well your liver, sugar and alcohol affect how well your liver will detoxify the body. If you load up on those things, it literally affects the liver negatively. And we have athletes today who have fatty liver disease because of their social habits. Now, foods that improve your performance.
Yeah.
Again, we track back to the garden.
Yeah.
Yes, your high complex carb foods, whether it's the yams, the cassava, the sweet potatoes, but also the micronutrients that help us utilize those high carb complex foods. Your green leafy vegetables, your seeds, your mushrooms, your nuts. They interplay so well to help create the energy. We have activities that help us clear toxins out of the system.
Yeah.
There are certain foods that are very good at it. There's a herb called milk thistle, for instance. It's abundant. We're blessed with this thing.
But again, they also tell us that one man's food is another man's poison.
Poison, yeah. and you really have to go all out to identify this.
Which works for you.
Yes, what works for you. Okay.
Very true. And that's why it's really an individual.
It is.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
really. It is.
All right, doctor. Mankind is made up of races, like you said earlier. And our genealogy, and by extension, our genes will be different. So, how much would our genetic expressions differ as a result of our diets and our environment? How much?
Okay, let's take about 2 steps back.
Okay.
What the body adjusts to through evolution, is also tied to our environment. So, the French man who consumes lots of dairy milk, he has abundant lactase enzyme in his system to digest to help metabolize that lactose.
Okay.
You, the sub-Saharan African, who grew up with a lot of greenery around us, minimal animal protein, you start drinking the milk. For one, scientifically, between 80 to 95% of us lack the lactase enzyme.
Because we don't take enough.
Well, it's just over time, evolution-wise, we don't have it. Yet we want to consume milk like the Europeans do. Hello, there's a difference in our gene sequence that produces this lactase versus non-lactase. So there are some subtle differences like that. Now, sometimes we also get a bit off track. We look at certain things the Americans consume. Foods that we see makes them, quote unquote, bigger, taller, or whatever. And we want to consume the same things.
Okay.
American food is, they use the word SAD, very inflammatory.
Okay.
Our food, naturally, is less inflammatory. If you suddenly switch over to that model, the inflammation response your body will have is so severe. And so you have us today dropping off at much younger ages.
Yeah.
We advise, we do telemedicine. Colleagues from the US reach out to us and we advise them, change your nutrition. Go back to some of the basic things that you ate at home. If you can't find them there are communities that produce these items, whole food items. Go to some of those stores, whether it's without announcing any particular brands, go to these stores and get the items.
Yeah.
Your body is not the same as the American in terms of how you respond to inflammatory food products.
And by extension, even the supplements that we get, because I am one for, I got, foreign produced supplements, this, that, would that argument also hold?
My supplement, I always get my supplement from
I
abroad.
get it from abroad or I get it locally?
Yeah.
Okay. Once you're talking about supplements, you're talking about a processing of
the processing.
either plant-based sourcing or synthetic sourcing.
Yeah.
Issue now becomes, what's the quality of the process?
Yeah.
What are the ingredients used in it? Now, the closer the products are sourced from nature, and we use the word plant-based supplements. For example, today, you can buy bitter leaf in a capsule. You can buy moringa in a capsule. They harvest bitter leaf for moringa. It's dried, put in a capsule formulation. Done. That's a plant-based supplement. And that's what I would advise you to go and get over the synthetic, chemical, laboratory, man-made one.
Okay.
Now, if I don't have access to that one, fine. We will look at getting it from the synthetic source. But I will scrutinize what's the source, what's the brand sometimes, and what are the ingredients inside that particular supplement.
Okay. A lot of us want to live for as long as possible. All right? John, you're looking at me, don't you? We all want to live healthy lives. Longevity, I bet healthy life. Now, is it true that some people have longevity genes? And what is this? And how do I get it?
Okay. All right. Allow me to share with you some data from the Human Longevity Project that occurred about 10 to 15 years ago. They looked at cultures around the world to assess who lives the longest, and more importantly, who has least health problems, in other words, quality in their longevity.
Yeah.
And they came up with about 5 locations around the world. It was a place in I think Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, somewhere in Costa Rica. Surprise, surprise, Loma Linda, California in the US. And there was a 5th location. I told them, listen, you guys didn't check out Africa.
Yeah, they didn't check out Nigeria.
Plenty in
Waiting.
And there were a few trends that they noted. One was food was as much as possible close to nature. A lot of heavy plant-based foods. Animal food was less than 5%. Very good social interactions among their peers and good family relationships. The connection with spirituality was profound. And they also found lifestyle components.
Sufficient.
Yes, plenty, adequate sleep. Some of the cultures, they said, literally when the sun goes down, that's their clue. When sun sets, it's time to go get some rest.
Okay.
And this causes at the genetic level for them to have what we call longer telomeres. Telomeres are literally the end of our chromosomes. People who don't get enough sleep, their telomeres diminish faster. People who get adequate sleep over a long period of time have longer telomeres or can actually increase their telomeres. Certain foods.
For the purpose of clarity, adequate sleep, inadequate, what is it? How many hours?
Okay. There are about 4 factors. Hours is good. We say as an adult, 6 to 8 hours. Okay. If you're younger children, much longer. So hours is good. Equally important, if not more important, is the time you go to bed.
Okay.
2 hours before midnight is more powerful than 4 hours after midnight.
That's 10 o'clock.
At the latest 10 o'clock, ideally 9 o'clock.
Regular, like every day.
That's the third
Helen,
factor, regularity, consistency. That's the third factor with sleep.
Helen, note that.
Thank
She
you, John.
calls me at
Oh my
11
God,
she calls me
not
at
on national
11 p.m.
TV, John.
No, we'll talk about that later.
Thank you. Please go ahead. Yeah.
The fourth factor
Yes.
is the environment you sleep in.
Okay.
And that can be broken down further into how cool, how warm is the room.
Yeah.
Cooler rooms facilitate deeper sleep.
Cooler rooms.
Yes, cooler rooms.
Okay.
What kind of fabric do you sleep in? Do you sleep in cotton? Do you sleep in polyester?
Wow.
Or do you sleep in your native
This one is a whole
birthday
show
suit?
on its own. John,
Do you sleep on...
we have 8 minutes or less.
Okay, so listening to you, I'm sure that a lot of our viewers, what? So much information, Now, what are we doing about getting more people to understand this question of nutrition, genetics, What are we doing? I remember last week we asked a question along those lines, and it's like the structure isn't strong enough yet.
I have to applaud several people, even going back to our professors in the universities, who have been shouting from the mountaintop as what's happening in our conventional, commercial, cosmopolitan environments with nutrition. We're just going downhill. Unfortunately, we tend to glorify food that is literally going downhill. A lot of the foods that have come to the market today, some of the fast foods in particular, some of the seasons that we use. How are we alerting or making people more in tune with this knowledge? Again, from the university endpoint. However, it's not enough. Many of our doctors are not trained into nutrition. So our doctors are part of the challenge of getting this word out there. For example, we have doctors who preach about the benefits of wheat. Totally wrong. The data today doesn't support wheat as a healthy food, especially the way we cultivate and process wheat. Okay, how else are we getting the word out there? There are also material on the internet, but you have to be discerning and watch what you're reading and who is the source of the information. On our part, we do free programs at churches, on radio, Inspiration FM, on other stations. We do a lot of Zoom health programs attended by folks in Nigeria, the UK, and the US. So we're doing our part as we expect our other colleagues who are in this field of nutrition to also do their part.
Okay, we can't get it to the basics as much as possible in one show, but earlier on in the introduction, we talked about quantity and quality for you to get the needed nutrients. What quantity, Sometimes I hear a fistful, and for an adult, a fistful, what quantity is appropriate?
It's very, very individual. For example, for someone who is very sedentary, who sits at the desk all day long, you may say a fistful, that should be the size of your fufu, that should be the size of your rice or your bowl of cashew nuts. But if you're an athlete, who's training to compete with Toby, you're consuming a lot. So we make sure certain things are accommodated. If you're a bricklayer, someone who works out in the field in the construction industry, there's accommodation. So one side doesn't fit all in terms of quantity. But for the average Joe Blow who sits in the office all day doing nothing but keying in and there's general principles.
Wow.
All right.
On getting the word out, there's need for the higher structure, the government structure, to begin to put certain information in place.
In place, yes.
On a consistent pattern.
Yeah, and I hope they've heard that. And I'm sure that our viewers too have learnt a lot from our discussion with you today. Can we have a part 3? Helen, we have to wrap up the show.
Because I just it's running in my head, you know, food and its importance, and how often, you know, we think about that when we sit down at table or when we get to the kitchen to put our meals together. What really is on our mind, and that is the paradigm shift that you're talking about. Perhaps someone just joined this show like in 2 minutes ago. In a minute, how would you sum the essence of this subject?
Subject today being nutrition and genetics.
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying that you are what you eat. Right down to the genetic level, you are. If I see somebody who is very obese, I know they have certain genes that are being stimulated. Somebody who's a slim athlete, certain genes are being stimulated by their lifestyle and their nutrition. So nutrition plays a huge role right down to our genetic expression.
Okay.
So
thank you
our
so
genetic
much.
expression, that's where we're going to wrap up for today.
Thank you.
We want to thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Ijewere. And I want to say that we hope, we actually believe that you will answer our call again when we bring you onto this program.
No, we'll make it as regular as we can.
Yeah.
All right, so health is indeed wealth, and your food, you heard, and nutrition choice and habit will determine if you will enjoy a healthy life or not. It has been a real pleasure once again, Doctor.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're moving on to other part of the program, and you know, right from this part, we go to the gym, where another aspect of how we can, you know, elongate our lives and have healthy living. And so after that, we have Pharaoh, right?
Yes, and they're warming up.
And Pharaoh has a guest today, and they will be looking at from the corporate world to entrepreneur, and her guest is Rosalind Anyel. And I can't wait for that bit.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to the gym.